Hello everyone. Oh, do you know, I think that's a very, very smooth way of starting off the stream. I got a little bit confused because my stream deck stopped working there. So hello everyone. Yeah, my name is Ben Brownlee for Boris FX, and this is our weekly office hours where we start to explore some different topics of the day with different people from Boris FX. This is Office Hours Sickbed edition, so you might pick up that my throat is a little bit worse for wear. I might be disappearing into bouts of coughing and sneezing throughout the stream, but I do have a handy mute button that actually does work. I did just test that. So without any more sort of ceremony, let's come along and actually take a quick look at what we're doing. Yeah, we're going to be coming in and looking at effects that work together. So I call this the Wonder Twins effect. So, you know, you've got one effect that you might like how it looks, and then you've got other effects that might pair very well with it. So I think someone in the description called it an effect somalier. So knowing what wines and effect sort of filters pair well together. So there are some obvious ones, and let's sort of come in. I'm going to take a quick look. I thought we'd got rid of everything on here. We probably have, actually, to be fair. We're working in Resolve today, but basically whatever I'm going to be showing you is going to work in however you're working with Sapphire. So there are some effects that they just go really well together, whatever we try to do. So if I'm coming into my effects over on the right hand side, let's come into filters. We'll take a look at Sapphire, and we have there's a lot of effects in Sapphire. So if you don't have the ability to search through all of them straight away, I completely understand. There's a ton here. I've been working with Sapphire for a very long time, and I'm going through these and discovering some new effects all the time, which is kind of what I love really about it. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a little color fuse. So if I type in color here, color fuse is one of the newer effects. It came out a little while ago, but I still think think of it as a newer effect. We pop into our inspector and open up here, and basically what the color fuse is, it's a way of quickly being able to mix different LUTs together. Now, one of the things that people ask me a bit is, like, you're in Resolve, you're using LUTs all the time. Why is it a good idea to be using color fuse? And the simple reason for that is that color fuse works being able to mix 5 different LUTs together all in the same plugin. We don't have to pop into the color page at all, and if you're just in a sort of editing flow, you can quickly use it to kind of get an idea of what it is that you want to do with it, the direction that you want to take something in, without having to individually drag things over and go between nodes and sort of mix them in that sort of way. The other thing that color fuse has is like a ton of presets, and presets are always a good place to start with. I think when we look at color fuse, OFX color fuse doesn't actually update the preset browser, the viewer here. So one of the things we do have to do is just take a little look at what the thumbnails are doing for an idea of what's going in. Hello everyone. Hello Los Angeles. Hello Otley from the UK. Hello everyone else who's joining us today. Let's add in commercial success. That's always a fun one to do. And you can see this brings in our LUTs, and we can start to sort of play around with it here and sort of just mix these back. If it's not quite the Oh, and Boston as well. Bonjour, bonjour. Yeah, if it's not quite the effect we're after, we can just head back in here. I might choose something a little bit simpler. I might just go with a Fuji Velvia 100. I'll just double click on that. And so this is just going to give us a single slider to bring in. Yeah, I like that. So something like Color Fuse, which deals with colors and sort of is there for your sort of finishing colors. That's always a nice one to pair with another sort of finishing effect. And we have the perfect one for you as well. And this is a new one. It's a proper new one. Came out in the last Sapphire release, 2023. And it's ultra grain. And let's bring this over the top. And ultra grain, as the name sort of gives away, is a grain plugin. And what I like about ultra grain is this. Again, loading up the presets, we've got just like a ton of different presets to do. So it's measured film grain that all these presets are measured grain from different types of cameras. So we've got your Alexas in there, you got your Black Magics in there, which is obviously very handy if you're sat in Resolve. It's nice having a little bit of Black Magic in there as well. But we also have some things for like movie looks. Let's actually zoom in. We can actually take a look at this one. And with grain, it's always nicer just to zoom a little bit further in. You want to see it at least 100%, otherwise you're not kind of seeing what's going on. But you've got like simple ones like Agitator, which just are there to kind of liven things up, or more measured ones like the red ones here. And these are going to be really subtle to see, because a lot of these cameras, especially the higher end cameras, they have their own sort of noise patterns, and some of them are sort of a bit more subtle than others, or they hide the noise in different channels. So I'll take something that's a little bit punchier. I'm going to go into the movie ones here. Boom, boom, boom. Movies. There we go. Yes, we've got Closed Encounters, Dead Evil, Kaiser, Stony. Oh, let's go with Stony. That'll do. And we'll bring those together here. And the thing that you really want to adjust with ultra grain are these top ones here. So you've got your grain amplitude, so bringing the grain up and down. You've got your grain size, makes that grain bigger or smaller. With digital, with digital grain, the grain's going to be quite small. With film grain, that grain could be a bit bigger, a bit clumpier. We've also got grain blur as well to kind of change that around. But actually, if you're using ultra grain, the first thing you want to do is come down to the bottom here. There's this little fella here. It's called grain seed. This is always set to 0.123. So that means that your grain pattern is always going to be the same when you put it through. So if I were to change this seed, we get a slightly different grain pattern. Now, there are some people who know their grain patterns so well, like especially things like some of the grain overlays, they can actually pick out where a grain overlay actually comes from, what a particular piece of grain stock actually is, which is amazing. But so this being able to just change up the grain seed quite a bit and always get something new and unique is definitely a bonus here. And just ultra grain on its own plays back real time, nice and fast, always good. Hello Michael in the chat. So yeah, so far we've got like color fuse and ultra grain together playing back. We're getting a good lick of speed on there. Not quite real time thanks to color fuse, but ultra grain happily chomping through, very nice. So this is all well and good. We do have two effects that are quite happily looking, working together. Very nice. But there is a better way of doing it, especially in where we're working with editing programs where, you know, if we want to go between color fuse or ultra grain, we have to sort of select between these two here. We've got a lot of controls we might not be needing. Like even in something as straightforward as ultra grain, like most of the time, if I'm playing with a, not playing with a, working from a preset, to get the actual matching that I need on a particular clip, once that preset's loaded in, I'm going to be touching 4 of these controls. I'm going to be touching amplitude, grain amp, grain size, grain blur, and the grain seed. That's it. I don't need all this other stuff. So if only there was a way of bringing our Wonder Twins together. Yeah, there is. Don't worry. Everyone can stop worrying right now. I'm going to get rid of all of this stuff here. I'm going to remove my attributes. I'm going to remove my plugins, because there is one effect that helps to bring our twins together. This is S_effect. So this is the builder. And I talk about the builder quite a bit. And the reason I talk about the builder quite a bit is because I think it is the best effect that is available in Sapphire. I apply it to my clip and nothing happens. Perfect. That's because builder is a place where you can combine multiple clips together. So let's load up a preset. Let's have a little think. Hello everyone else in the chat. I'm going to say, if you've got any particular effects that you really like and you would like another complementary effect for it, drop it in the chat, and I'll have a little think and I'll have a little look for it in a second. Yeah, so in the builder preset, builder preset browser, I've made this little one called Ben's Cine Look. I'm just going to add this in. I actually think I've done this for a tutorial as well. So if you want to see exactly how I built this, you can have a little look at the tutorial. But this has got color fuse looks, it's got a vignette, and it's got an ultra grain. But it's only got 2, 4, 6. It's got about 11 controls in it. So let's edit this and see what's going on, because this is the fun thing. This is where I start to get really happy. All right, let's make sure this is all fit here, because when we bring up the Sapphire Effect Builder, we've got like a little node graph of what we've got with our multiple Sapphire effects all in one place. So if you're working in Resolve, you're hopefully going to be either familiar with nodes from the color page or from the fusion page. So both of these work with nodes, and both of them are going to give you nice insights into how the builder works, because basically it's a simple node tree. So we start with our source. Let's have a little look here. We add in our color fuse looks. Thank you very much. It's got a vignette in there. I didn't show you the vignette. It's Wonder Twins. It's not Wonder Triplets. So we'll get a vignette out of there. And we've also got our ultra grain. And this then goes down, flows down into our result, which is what gets spat out at the other end. Now, something that's even more fun about this is that over on the right hand side, we have all the parameters that we can use in an effect. And we can select, by turning these on and off, we can select which ones. Hang on, let me go here, turn that off. I forgot we're working in Resolve, so I probably want to stick this fella all the way over here somewhere. There we go. Look at that. So good. All right. So if we look over at the parameters, we've got these little check marks. And these check marks are going to show us which of these parameters are going to be shown all the way back in the interface. So with ultra grain, we can turn these all on or all off, and I can use just the 4 here that I really want to work with. Grain amplitude, grain size, grain blur, grain seed. That's it. So now when I hit OK, back into Resolve, over in my controls here, even though I've got both of those effects from Sapphire and they're the full effects, all I've got are the controls that are really interesting to me at this exact moment. And hello to everyone that's new in the chat. Yeah, this is office hours. And let's show me. There we go. I'm Ben Brownlee. We're going to be taking a look at a number of different little effect combinations, and we've just taken a little look at the builder, and we can start building on this. Actually, I could save this out as a preset, share it around anywhere else that has Sapphire, so it doesn't have to be Resolve. You could be taking it into Premiere or After Effects or Avid or wherever else you're using Sapphire. Everyone can use the same preset, which is rather lovely. Let's take a quick look over here though. Let's zoom out a wee bit here. That's not what I want. Maybe one of these. Yeah. Let's have a little look here. Okay, let's just make sure we've got nothing on these. Just reset all of that. Yeah, exactly how we wanted it. Okay, so the next little flavor combination that I'm going to be showing you is nothing to do with color at all. We're going to start to build up our own little sort of halation effect, which is always quite fun. So I'm not even going to bother putting on the individual effects in Sapphire. I'm going to go straight to the builder because I really want to have full control over what these effects are going to be doing. So let's go into builder. So let's edit the effect. And one of my favorite effects, and one that gets overlooked a little bit actually. Oh, it's right up here. Here we go. It's Hotspots. And I'm going to turn or bring Hotspots in. And Hotspots it's kind of a fairly straightforward plugin. What it does is it lets you create up a little threshold, blur our little threshold as we want to, or blur the image before we add a threshold, and whack a bit of brightness or a bit of saturation, bit of brightness into it there. So far, so kind of like, all right, yeah, I get it. That's cool. But we can do a ton with a hotspot. Like hotspots are kind of a good building block for a load of different sorts of effects. And in fact, the threshold is our sort of shortcut to working with a load of different effects as well. So within the hotspots, what I also want to do is I'm going to add in a one of my compositing nodes. So hotspots really react well to compositing them together, and we've got a few little composite nodes we can use. We've got things like layer, we've got mathops, we've got matops, comp, and we've also got one down the bottom called composite as well. I want to be using something with blend modes, so my choices here are going to be either layer or mathops, and we'll just use mathops here. We'll maybe see why later, probably not, because in this case it's not really going to make a huge difference which one we try. Now mathops, am I going to count this as a wonder twin? I don't know, maybe not. I think mathops is like a it always feels like a sort of a nurse in the delivery room. There we go, someone that's helping the twins. I don't know where this metaphor is going anyway, because basically mathops has got two inputs into it. it's got source A and source B. And I've got my hotspots plugged into source A. I've got nothing plugged into source B. So let's just plug our original clip back into source B here. And we can take a little look at the different blend modes we've got. So we've got the blend modes over on the right hand side. So we can either screen this over or add this together. You know, we've got things like being able to change up the lights and all that, but I'm going to ignore all of this. I'm not interested in that. What I am interested in is taking this hotspot here and making this a little bit more fun. So I've got preview selected node turned on down the bottom here. Let's just zoom in to the light, because this is the interesting bit. This is where I've used my threshold just to sort of place that in. So I've got regular, that's the source, there's the hotspot, and there's the composite. So just adding that together, making something that's it's like a glow. It's not quite a glow. Preview selected node, I'm going to turn that off for a second because I want to adjust my hotspot without adjusting the math ops. So if we blur this together, or we blur this up a little bit, you can we do get a little bit of a sort of blurring or sort of a glow type of thing, but I'm not here to make a glow. We've got lots of other effects that are here that can make lovely glows, including ultra glow, which maybe we'll look at in a bit. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to use something down here. Is there a Harry asks, is there a quick key to toggle preview selected node? Very, very good question. There is. Do I know what it is? No, hang on. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. Would that there were a little tooltip that popped up and said, Ben, it's N, but it's not N. I don't know what it is. I will think P. It's not even P. S. No, we're just pressing random numbers now. Random numbers, random letters. I'll figure it out later. Maybe there's not. Maybe we should make that one. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. All right, excuse me a second. I am on my deathbed. I will just be coughing just for one moment. Please entertain yourselves with a small amount of music in your heads. And we're back, better than ever. Okay, so what I actually wanted to do was find my Wonder Twin for Hotspots. So this is an effect that I love to use with Hotspots, and it's an easy one for me. Actually, it's warp chroma, and I place that after the hotspots, and like straight away, actually, you can see it's doing quite a lot of heavy lifting. I like this. Right, let's preview that selected node one more time. Warp chroma is a funny one, because warp chroma, like the default look of warp chroma, doesn't quite give you like exactly what this effect is capable of. So this is definitely one of those ones where you want to hop into the presets again. So like we've got the default, which is like, oh yeah, all right, I kind of see what's going on. But then you start clicking through some of the presets, and you go, oh, okay, well, all right, maybe Reggae Splash is a bit out there, and Tartan City. Yeah, thanks Angie for all of those. That's good. But we've also got ones that are a little bit sort of calmer. So we've got things like chromatic aberration strong and chromatic aberration subtle. And I'm going to say these are probably the two of the most used presets that I use for maybe not even just for warp chroma, but for Sapphire itself. So we're going to load in chromatic aberration. Let's make sure that's sat in the right place. There we go. And we'll load that one in. And I'll zoom in a little bit here. And this is just giving me, if I turn the node on and off, this is just giving me like a little bit of chromatic aberration around that edge there. And we can turn that up and down with the warp amount down here. So if we want a little bit more, we can turn that up and down. So, you know, so far so good. But let's turn off preview selected node and see how it's actually looking in context, because this is the, you know, this is the important bit. You know, we can take this really subtle with a very, very small warp amount, but at the end of the day, if it's so subtle you can't even see it, is there a point of it even being there? So I'm gonna make a big warp amount there. And the nice thing about this, it's only affecting the hotspots there, and then we're going to add that together or screen that over the top of the original. So if we have a little look at the before and the after, you know, we've got like, it's a nice subtle effect that's just sort of glowing these out. If I had more than you know, had more than 2 effects that I was allowed to work with, maybe I'd do something else with it. But no, I've made myself to only use 2 effects. This is the Wonder Twins. So we've got hotspots, we've got warp chroma. So what's important in these? If I'm going to be using this like in other effects, what's the most important thing here? So let's turn this off. I think blur input is important. I think threshold is important. I actually think saturation and brightness are both important in this effect. It's a straightforward effect, but you know, we've taken out 20% of the controls. When it comes to warp chroma, let's turn all of these off. I'm interested in one control and one control only, and that's my warp amount. Mainly. Okay, thinking about it, actually, now saying that out loud, I feel that's a little bit limiting. So I'm going to turn on color 1, 2, and 3 as well. With math ops, we're just using this just to screen everything back over the top. So I'm going to turn everything off. This is going to be the same whatever happens. So that's going to be cool. So if I hit OK on this, bling, 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 we come back into Resolve again with our Wonder Twins of the hotspots and the warp chroma, and I can change these up just on the fly if I want to, you know, sort of make any sort of changes there. Oh, and hello everyone else that's new in chat. Welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining me on office hours. I'm going to leave this here for a second because this is our a QR code for our Discord server, which I think is that as well that I've just dropped into chat. And I want to say thank you very much to Elizabeth for reminding me to tell people that the hotkey for enable and disable a node is Control or Command D. Yeah, that's very good to know. We'll look at some of the keyboard controls in a little bit. I'm going to take that effect. I'm going to copy this effect. Copy. Let's come over here. I'll do this the paste attributes kind of way, and just paste in our plugins. There we go. Onto our next clip. So here, this clip is going to be, obviously it's going to be different because we don't really want to have this kind of effect coming in just on top of the light there. So this is the cool thing about having this set up the way we do, is that to get rid of all of this and to keep it in just the window, all we have to do is adjust the threshold up. I'm just using my middle mouse button over here just to pan around the clip and zoom in and zoom out with the scroll wheel, which I didn't want to do, to be fair. Let's just turn that back to that. There we go. And so we've got the halation happening on just the window. And so we've got saturation, all this sort of stuff happening. Maybe we'll blur this out a little bit more. Maybe not too much. And with this one, what if I didn't want this to be that sort of RGB channel separation? Well, that's actually a good point. And now I feel like I've been vindicated for putting in these colours here, which I wasn't going to be fair. Because I can just come in here now and we can just change these up to whatever colours that you want to, which is, I don't know, we'll go for some warm sort of colours. So we'll go orange, yellow. And now should we just keep this red? Yeah, sure, why not? Doesn't make, there we go. It's not something to stress about too much. And so we can sort of just do the warp amount up there and sort of figure out how we want it. And this is, you know, this is really, really nice. This is sort of the good way of figuring out sort of some effects that work together, and then, you know, actually just coming in and paring them down so that the controls are only the ones that you want to work with. Hello 711 AO. You are late today. You are late today, but you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. Alrighty. Let's have a look at a little another little effect. What time we got? We got ages yet. Let's actually just take a quick sip of tea, and while I'm doing that, if you can have a little think about your favorite effects and type them in the chat for me, and it'll maybe spark an idea of what else we can start to do with them. Right, 1 second. Something for the throat. Very professional. Drinking on stream. Excellent stuff. All right. Let's have a little look. Oh, Harry said, don't the colours always need to add together to be the original colour? I would think the chroma value would need to add together to make the original image. Yes. As in RGB. Yes, you're absolutely right. That's what it would be if we were going with this effect, if we were going for something that was real. If we wanted something a bit more stylized, or just to blast that out in a different way, I'm quite happy to muck up these colors here. But you're right, if we're going for actual chromatic aberration, you would probably leave these at RGB. Not probably, you would leave these at RGB, or you could even swap them around. Cool. Let's look at this shot. What can we do with this shot? Well, I know what the first thing is I'm going to do with this shot, which is apply S effect to it, because I'm not sure what the second thing is I'm going to do to this shot. Oh yes, I do. I know this. I'm going to open up the effect and have a little think. All right. Well, because it's me and no one else has prompted me for another effect yet, I'm going to dive into one of my faves, a little lens flare. Everyone loves a lens flare. It's lensy, it's flary. We all love lens flares. We've got tons of lens flare presets again. Regular viewers of me and my live streams might be a little bit sick of me talking about lens flares. I tell you what, I'm definitely not sick about talking about them. So I will continue to talk about them while I still have my voice. So I think that people are probably getting a little bit happy that my voice might be slipping away at the moment. Let's pick one of these ones here. I don't know if it really matters what we choose. I'll choose one of Alan's, because he's always complaining that I never choose his presets. Frenello version 2. I love this. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this, I think, is I'm going to show you a way of doing something with a lens flare that isn't a lens flare. You know, not a sort of a big flary lens. But we do need to sort of take in like a lot of the ideas and the properties of the lens flare and the characteristics of a lens flare as well. But I like this flare. I do like it a lot. But I want it to feel a little bit more like dappled sunshine than a flare. And because I'm now in a different part of the screen, let's move me all the way over here. I'm going to stop moving myself, I think, at some point. But I think that's a good place to be. Yeah, so if we take a little look at this, we've got some controls in Builder where we can start to play around with the characteristics of the flare. One of the things we don't have in Builder, though, is the ability to dive straight into the flare designer. So if you wanted to do some more flare work with this, you'd have to do that in the flare designer first, save that as a preset, and then use that, load that preset into Builder. It's not a problem with you know, rendering out the result. It's just a problem of going into the editor from here. But sometimes we don't even need to bother doing that, because we do have stuff that is available to us, like you know, like the ray length. If I wanted to sort of pull this back a little bit, or the ray brightness, wanted to pull this back a little bit, we can do that directly from within the controls. Some of the other things, like the elements over on the right hand side, I'm not a big fan of those if we're just trying to go for something that doesn't look or doesn't feel like a lens flare. It's like even pulling this out and sort of trying to play with it like that, you know, we're still getting that other element over there, which, you know, I'm not. If I could try and take it out with the other brightness, but that then gets rid of all of this really nice stuff that we've got going on here. So let's bring that in there. And widths I've scaled up. I'm kind of happy with that. I might blur the flare. Let's leave that there. So I'm going to find something that pairs well with this flare. Before I do that, I'm going to look at the chat. The chat says, can the flare be adapted like you would with a composite? E.g., instead of the whole picture becoming milky, you have the flare falling behind her. Well, actually, you can do that sort of stuff using the occlusion layer here. So we could try to take the occlusion from the luma. So if we brought this over, we might want to invert the occlusion here. Yeah, so, and turn off use color. Thank you, Ben. If we brought this over here, like depending on what we've got going on, I'd probably make a better high contrast matte of this, but this would react to the scene a bit more. Just turn off that there. So like the brighter areas would, or is it, you know, the luminance values change, our flare gets either boosted or masked out. So we could do something like that. There's actually a couple of things we could do, and we'll take a look at the node-based system as well for you, 711. Yeah, one of the other things we could do to make it sort of sit a bit better in this scene is maybe give it a bit of atmosphere. It's like the atmosphere. This is something that's built into like a ton of the effects actually, and it always works in the same way. So we can sort of bring the atmosphere amplitude up, sort of brings in a bit of smoke, and we can change the frequency to sort of make that smoke bigger or smaller. And then we can change the detail as well to sort of simplify this up a little bit. So we've got a little bit of, you know, movement happening within the flare, which is kind of cool. Let's turn, or get rid of the occlusion there for a sec. We don't need that. Yeah, one of the things that we can do with this though is we can sort of mask this off. We can use masks just to bring back our original layer. And this is where I like my vignette effect. A vignette is not just for Christmas. I'm not even sure what I mean by that. Basically, we can use a vignette for tons of stuff. It doesn't just have to be for vignette. Thank you very much for the compliments of my clothes. A good choice of clothes. You wear good clothes. Thank you. This is a cardi that's trying to keep me warm, so I don't get any more sick. So thank you very much. I feel very comfortable in it. Yeah, with the vignette, one of the sort of things that you can overlook quite a bit actually is coming down to the bottom and looking at the combine mode here. So the combine is how we're bringing this vignette over. So most of the time you're taking your source clip, you're piping it into the vignette, and then you're getting a sort of vignette, a vignetted image, like a darkened image or blurred image around the edges, and there's your there's the use of your vignette. Now I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it do something else with it. Because if I take my combine and instead of saying composite, I just say vignette only or vignette only inverse, then I've got a nice little mask shape that I can float around and do lots of fun stuff with. And I like this because it's hugely interactive. I can move it around, I can rotate it, I can do whatever I want to do with it. And we also have edge softness built straight into it, and we also have a smooth curve built straight into it. So instead of doing this with a like a shape and a blur, why not do it with a vignette and you've got everything all in one place? This is what, you know, I like to try and do everything all in one place. All right, so how do we use this as a way of masking out the lens flare? I mean, we can't hook it into the occlusion because that's not going to work. The occlusion is there to sort of interactively work with the flare itself, to sort of, as we've seen, sort of brighten or dim the flare as if it was going behind objects. So to do this, I'm gonna not cheat. I'm gonna move away from my Wonder Twins idea again. And just go back to our helper here. And I think I'm just going to use a layer. So this is sort of the same sort of idea as the math ops. So we've got two different inputs into here. We've got a foreground input, and we've got a background input. So I'm going to pipe my lens flare into the foreground. I'm going to pipe my source, which is, remember, the unaffected image, into the background. And then from that, I'm going to take my output, the result of this, and I'm going to pipe that into the result, which is what is going to be taken out into Resolve in just a moment. Let's tidy up my nodes just a little bit more. There we go. Thank you very much. And we also have one more input on this layer. And this layer has a matte. In fact, a lot of these effects have a little input into the left hand side, and that's going to be a matte. Tell it's matte because you hover over it, it says matte. Thank you very much. And I'm just going to pump in the vignette into the matte layer. Okay, so let's turn off preview selected node. Let's turn on my my layer here, and let's turn off comp pre-mult. So this everything's going you know, looks as if it's going a little bit bright. That's because it's sort of expecting a different type of what's called a different type of calculation at the end to sort of bring this back together again. We don't need a comp pre-mult, thank you very much, because we're not doing anything that is pre-multiplied. And I can choose what I want to do with this alpha that's coming, oh sorry, the matte. I can either use the alpha or the luma. Now, in this case, this vignette is both things. It is white on black in the RGB, but also if we show the checkerboard here, it probably is going to be with alpha as well, because we've got nothing else coming into it. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. All I know is that I can happily use either of these, and what I'm now getting, if I turn off my preview things here, what I'm now getting is wherever I have my vignette is going to be the area that is going to have the lens flare applied to it. So it's going to, I can just come in, I can make this a bit bigger, like this here, maybe not quite as big, but maybe it's a little bit bigger. And we can get this sort of dappled sunshine coming in. Maybe change where my flare is. Send it a bit further outside. Start adjusting some of these things up. But that's nice. We've got a little fall off going in on our flare. So instead of looking exactly like a lens flare, especially if I started to do other stuff to it, maybe like blur it up or something, we can end up with looking like a little bit more, you know, dappled sunshine. Let's just expose all the things that we want to expose. So what's that going to be? Scale widths, yes please. Blur, yes. The hotspot, the brightness. Atmosphere, yeah, sure, why not? Okay, and in the vignette, let's turn off everything, and we're going to do the center point, the radius, and the relative height and width. Well, let's set one of these, at least one of these, to 1, so I don't have to worry about that, and then we can keyframe that one. That's all cool. Edge softness, yes, and smooth curve, yes. And in the layer, what do we need to think about with parameters here? Nothing. We don't need that. That's just a helper layer. That's just bringing all of this stuff together. Hit OK on that. Taking us back into Resolve, and now I can still come in here. I can do my final little tweaking that I need just in here as well. You'll notice that the flare itself at the top is going off or outside of the edges. That's only because we've brought in a piece of footage that is letterboxed. So obviously on output we can letterbox this again, using probably like in the color. We'll come in here and we'll sort out the output sizing, or the ref sizing, even better. Where's my output sizing? There we go. So I can do blanking at the top and bottom, and just get this. This is very difficult to see on this little monitor. Come on, Ben, let's hide some of the stuff that you're not using and bring some of that up. There we go. So the nice thing about this is that even when we go back into our edit node, it's taking that blanking with us as well. I've not been as generous as I need to be up there, but that's fine. Cool. So this is office hours. I am Ben Brownlee. You're watching Boris FX Office Hours. This is your chance to have a little chat with us. If you've got any questions about Sapphire or anything else, then ask them away. If you are interested in diving deeper into any of the Boris FX software, we've got this thing over there. Scan that with your Discord app. We've got a Discord server. So we're sort of building that community now. It's you know, going quite nicely. We've got a bit of chats going on. It's a lovely way of getting to know us and to talk together, and to show off some of your stuff that you've done as well. We've got a nice little showcase area for us. So yeah, open up your Discord app, scan that in, join the server. It's good for you. I think. I don't know why it wouldn't be. All right. let's find another clip that we haven't touched on yet, and we'll do one more thing. I think we've got time for one more thing. Yeah, I think we do. Are we going to do it on this one? Sure. It's not the most. All right, I'm going to do it on this one. I'm going to trash what we've got on this one here, and let's do another effect. I'm going to sort of, if no one else has got a favourite effect they want me to riff on, I'm going to riff on another effect myself. Let's edit this effect here. I'm going to mute myself and take another giant swig of tea to try and soothe the old throat. There we go, lovely. Oh, thank you 711. 711 says my fave is Mocha Pro and Sapphire. You are, as the kids say, a man of culture, or woman of culture. I'm trying to look what your icon is. I'm not quite sure. So I'm gonna leave it there. All right, so we looked at vignette and vignetting to pipe into a matte clip. And that worked out quite nicely. Let's move me over here while I'm over here. One of my other favourite effects, actually, if I'm ever in a sort of a bind and I'm not quite sure of what I want to do with something, like especially if it's like a motion background or like a text treatment or something, or just trying to have something like a nice stylized effect, I always look at the distort category. I've been talking too much about Discord, and like even just like a regular distort is another one of those effects that kind of you go, oh well, that looks a bit weird. I wonder what that's doing. Oh, it's doing that, and then you sort of go, all right then, that's nice. We'll leave it there then, and then you sort of just go away and then you don't come back to it. That's a mistake. The distort filter, I mean, and the sort of family of distort filters is actually some of my most used ones. If you look at some of my presets, especially the builder presets, you'll actually see that I use those a ton. Hello very much. Welcome to everyone in chat, even the latecomers. That's the nice thing about these, is that you can always watch them. You can watch them live, or you can watch the replays. Yeah, so we've got some other little fun presets here. We've got things like altered perceptions, which kind of gives you this sort of weird surface blur type thing. Funhouse mirror, I mean, it all goes a little bit extreme. It's kind of fun, but I sort of like this one. I like John's finger paint style. It's sort of it's just weird enough. It's just enough, and I like that. I like that one. We can start that one as a preset. Sorry, as a starting point. And you'll notice that distort has two inputs. It's got the mask input on the left hand side, and it's got the lens input on the right hand side. So this is what we're going to use to help to drive the distort, because at the moment we're just going to be driving the distort with the clip itself. This could be what you want, but we can do more. What should I use? I could use another vignette type thing. Oh, actually, no. We're in the distort category. Let's use parallax strips. This is another one. Let's bring me over here again. Yeah, this is another filter that is sort of in the same sort of vein as the vignette, you could use it to sort of drive an effect itself by piping in something like, take our source and pipe that into the parallax strips, and we could be sort of driving a sort of split up a little effect here, or we could use this to drive other effects. And this is a case of coming in and in vignette we use the composite. In parallax strips we use show, and I'm going to do strips over black, and this is showing what's going on underneath the hood. So I'm going to take some of those strips down, take the number of strips down quite a bit. Let's take the size down quite a bit as well. Maybe I'll take the number of strips up a little bit then. Take the angle, change that around. Let's make that faster speed, and vary the speed as well. Yeah, that's doing something. Okay, we can adjust this in a second, Ben. We don't have to do it all now. All right. And let's see what happens when we plug this into distort. It has a little thought, I think, and we're going to plug it into the lens over here. Let's have a little look at the distort now. And we can definitely see it's doing something. Let's turn my amount down and play it through. And it's definitely doing something. Let's turn the blur lens down. Actually, just reset our rotate warp as well. No, we'll keep that there. And if I zoom in, and I'm going to very, very slowly bring the blur lens up. And you can see that's going to start to just bring in a little bit of an edge around that area. So as it plays it back, we can see now a bit of distortion happening through those parallax strips. Might make these strips a bit taller actually. And now, yeah, now you can see something starting to happen. But this is actually the really nice thing, is that we can start driving multiple effects with the same node. I know this is Wonder Twins. I know I've cheated a teeny tiny bit in the past, but this is the last one. I'm actually meant to be stopping in just a second. This is the last effect, so I'm definitely going to be cheating here, because I'm going to bring in another effect. I'm going to bring in a gamma. And I'm going to take that parallax strips, I'm going to pipe it into the mask on my gamma here. And I'm just going to turn the gamma up. And so now we've got, let's turn the preview off there so we can start to work with this a bit more. So now we've got like a blurred up, warped image. Start to warp that a little bit more maybe. Or maybe even just pipe this into distort in here and then just really crank this up. Or maybe into both places. Yeah, why not? That's the last thing we're doing. Let's just really crank this up a lot. And we can start to get sort of like you know, glassy blocks sort of falling down a little bit. And if we wanted to, it's Wonder Twins. Oh no, it's a surprise. It's not Wonder Twins at all. It's Wonder Triplets. No, it's not at all. It's Wonder Quadruplets. I'm going to stick a blur in there as well. I'm going to stick that same parallax strip mask in there. I'm just going to add a tiniest bit of blur in here. And now, well, let's turn all of this stuff off that we don't need. Let's bring that in. Just as we've done so many times before now. Let's change the angle and the strip speed. Let's hit OK. Let's see how that looks back in Resolve. And we've got our little falling glass blocks that we might need for some reason. In fact, if we don't want it falling that way, we've always got the option of just changing the angle there, and everything else kind of works with us there. More glass blocks, Ben. Yes, please. Tons of glass blocks. More than you could possibly ask for. Make them fast. And let's just see what happens when we play that back. I might even go as far as to turn on my smart render cache, and let's just let that cache through. If it's even going to think about it. There we go. Cool. Well, while that's having a little think, I might even just render that in place. Yeah, that's fine. We'll say elect that folder there. Yeah, and while that's doing its thing, what I will do is I will place this up on screen one last time to say, you know, if you want to find out more stuff or sort of just join in the conversation, as people are saying, yeah, head on over to the Discord server. There's a bit of stuff happening right now, but with your input, even more stuff is going to happen. So yeah, so basically we'll want more people to head on over there and have a little look. We're going to be doing office hours every week. It's not always going to be me doing office hours, which you probably have noticed. We do have a rotating cast of Boris FX experts to come in and just, you know, talk for an hour, answer any questions you have, and just sort of explore different effects. Sometimes it can be a little bit more, you know, prepped. Sometimes a little bit more kind of, I don't know, loose and goosey. But yeah, I mean, we're always happy to hear from you, and we always want to you know, listen to your questions as well. And Alteo's saying there's a Boris FX on Discord. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. It's that thing. It's that thing there. We even have I think we've got a Discord link, which I'm going to try and copy and paste. This may work. This may not. But yeah, we're definitely on Discord. Alrighty. Well, thanks everyone for joining me in this office hours today. If you want to you know what's coming up on the next office hours, the best place to do it, in fact the best way to do it, is to just subscribe to the Boris FX YouTube channel. You'll always be up to date on what's coming up there. If you are watching this live and you want to learn a bit more about particle illusions, and you want to see if my voice has returned or in fact completely disappeared tomorrow, I'm going to be chatting with Alan Lawrence and John Dickinson about particle illusion, and we're going to be doing a sneak peek of what may be coming up in the next version of particle illusion. So if you're into particles or anything sparkly, join us Boris FX live tomorrow. All right, my name is Ben Brownlee. This is Office Hours. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you again soon. All right, bye for now.